the guardian of echoes, the last melody of memory. Good evening, wandering souls of the deep night. Have you ever tried to listen to the sound of a memory? The melody composed by a longing that refuses to fade. Tonight, on the Corner of Lost Stories, I will take you to a place beyond any map. We will visit the Lighthouse of the Final Sigh, a spire of obsidian that doesn't warn ships of the rocks, but rather guides memories adrift toward the calm of the great beyond. There lived Elías, the last guardian of echoes. He was not an old man, but his eyes held the vastness of an ocean of yesterdays. Every night he did not light a lamp, but instead ascended to the tower's highest chamber. There, a unique instrument awaited him, an organ forged from moon crystal and solidified tears. His long, pale fingers did not touch the keys to create music, but to weave solace. Each note was a thread of sonorous light, a guide for the essences that roamed in the mists of time. They were the echoes of children's laughter, the whisper of a first love, the warmth of a final embrace. Elías felt them arrive like a change in the air, a sudden chill, a scent of jasmine, or wet earth. He would sit before the crystal organ and wait, listening to the inaudible murmur of absence. Then he would begin to play. An improvised melody, unique for each wandering soul. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, leave a little light in the form of a like to ensure our beacon never goes out. For the echo of a soldier, he played a solemn march that dissolved into the peace of a longed-for home. For that of a mother who never saw her child grow, a sweet and eternal lullaby. The memories, drawn by the vibration, would ascend in spirals of faint light. They danced around the tower, one last farewell before dissolving into the firmament. Elías was their ferryman, their final friend, the last witness to their existence. He fulfilled his duty with a melancholy devotion, a serene acceptance of his purpose. But one night, everything changed. He felt a different presence. It was not a cold gust, but a familiar warmth that made his skin prickle. An unmistakable scent of salt, of summer, and of the pages of an old book. The scent of Adara. His heart, a muscle accustomed to the slow rhythm of others' memories, began to race. He approached the railing and saw her below, on the shore where the waves kissed the black sand. Her figure was translucent, a sketch woven from starlight and longing. Her dress billowed without a wind, and her gaze was fixed on the tower, on him. Elías ran to the organ, his hands trembling. What melody could possibly guide her? Any tune he played for her would feel like a betrayal, an expulsion. He began with a soft piece, one that spoke of reunions in distant meadows. Adara raised a hand, not in farewell, but in a gesture asking him to stop. He changed the melody to a more complex one, about the beauty of memory and gratitude. She slowly shook her head, an infinite sadness on her ethereal face. Night after night, the ritual repeated. Elías would play, and Adara would remain. She did not draw closer. She did not move away. She simply waited on the shore, her presence a silent anchor. Elías began to despair. His purpose was to offer peace, but he could not give it to her. The other memories kept arriving, and he carried out his duty, but his mind and soul were with her. He began to speak to her through the music, telling stories of their days together. The melody of their first meeting at the village market, full of quick and joyful notes. The harmony of the nights they spent reading by the fire, a slow and warm cadence. The arpeggio of her laughter, a cascade of crystalline notes he tried in vain to imitate. Adara listened, motionless. At times, he thought he saw the glint of a spectral tear on her cheek. One night, exhausted, Elías stopped playing. The silence in the tower was overwhelming. He descended the stairs and walked toward the shore, stopping at a respectful distance. "Why?" he whispered to the wind. "Why won't you leave? Can you not find peace?" Adara's echo did not answer with words, but he felt the reply within him. It wasn't she who couldn't leave. It was he who wouldn't let her go. Every melody he played was an attempt to keep her close, to revive her essence. His music, the tool to free others, had become the cage for his own love. He understood then the terrible paradox of his existence. To free her, he had to free himself from the need for her presence. He had to play the one song he had avoided since she departed, the song they had composed together one afternoon as rain fell against the lighthouse windows. They called it Our Symphony, a piece that spoke not of goodbyes, but of an eternal love. He returned to the tower with the weight of 1,000 years on his shoulders. He sat before the crystal organ, his fingers hovering over the icy keys. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and imagined she was beside him, just like before. The first notes emerged, timid and fragile. They were the question of their first hello. Then the melody grew, becoming stronger. It was the certainty of their clasped hands. Below on the shore, Adara looked up. A soft smile formed on her lips. Elías opened his eyes and continued to play, but now he was looking at her. The notes became a whirlwind of passion and joy, the climax of their love. He remembered the warmth of her skin, the sound of her voice saying his name. Adara began to move. She took one step, then another. Approaching the lighthouse dot, she was not ascending to the sky. She was coming closer to him. The music slowed, becoming intimate, a whisper between two souls. It was the promise they had made to each other, to always find one another beyond time and distance. Adara reached the base of the tower and began to rise, not by the stairs, but by floating. Her ethereal form passed through the stone walls as if they were mist. Elías felt no fear, only a profound sense that everything was right. He continued playing the final part of the symphony, the sweetest and most painful. The notes spoke of acceptance, of a love so great it could exist in absence. Adara entered the lantern room, her light filling the space. She stopped behind him and placed her spectral hands on his shoulders. He felt no physical touch, but a wave of peace, of unconditional love. The final note of the symphony vibrated in the air sustained, perfect, eternal. And then, silence. Elías turned. Adara was before him, her smile all the light he would ever need. She held out her hand, and without hesitation, he placed his over it. Their fingers did not touch, but their essences intertwined. "Thank you," he felt in his mind, her voice as clear as a crystal bell, "for remembering me not as an ending, but as a continuum." Then Adara's light began to intensify, becoming blinding. But it was not a light that burned, but one that embraced. Elías did not close his eyes. He didn't want to miss a single moment. She did not dissolve into the firmament like the other echoes. She fragmented into millions of motes of golden light. Each mote danced in the air before drifting toward the crystal organ. They merged with the instrument, which began to glow from within with a warm radiance. When the light dimmed, Elías approached the organ. It was no longer cold. As he touched a key, the sound was different, richer, deeper. It contained Adara's laughter, the warmth of her embrace, the essence of her love. She had not left. She had become the music. From that night on, Elías's melodies were different. They were no longer just guides for those who were leaving, but also balms for those who remained. Each note carried with it a spark of Adara's love, a reminder that nothing is ever truly extinguished. The guardian of echoes was no longer alone in his obsidian tower. He had the company of an eternal symphony, the echo of a love that had transcended memory itself. The story of the lighthouse of the Final Sigh teaches us that a true goodbye is not an act of forgetting, but the most profound act of love, to transform the pain of absence into the music of an eternal memory. What melody do you think your most precious memories hold? And is there a song that connects you to someone who is no longer here? Share your echoes with us in the comments. And if this story has resonated with your soul, Leave a light in the form of a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, so the echo of our stories always finds its way to you. Until next time.